Ramaphosa, and thereafter President Ghali will deliver his remarks. We will then open the floor to questions. And I've been told that colleagues from the media are in a hurry. They just want one round of questions so that you can rush to file, so we'll just give you one round of questions. Mr. President, over to you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency President Brahim Ghali, Honorable Ministers, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors, and members of the media. Welcome to sunny South Africa. Our climate is not as hot as yours, but we are rejoicing in having a little bit of sun after the winter. This morning I had the privilege of welcoming His Excellency President Brahim Ghali, President of the Saharawi Arab Democratic Republic, to South Africa, to our seat of government here at the Union Buildings in Pretoria. South Africa and the Saharawi Arab Democratic Republic enjoy fraternal, warm bilateral relations, and these relations are anchored not only on our shared history of struggle, but also on our common vision for the self-determination of the people of Western Sahara. This year marks the 46th anniversary of the illegal occupation of Western Sahara by the Kingdom of Morocco. It is also 31 years since the United Nations Security Council, through Resolution 690 of 1991, made provision for a UN-supervised referendum that would allow the Sahrawi people to determine their own destiny and future. Morocco's illegal occupation of Western Sahara remains a matter of concern to both Africa and the international community until the people of Western Sahara are able to exercise their own right to self-determination. The decolonization of Africa will be incomplete. As a country whose freedom was attained with the assistance of the international community and international support and solidarity, South Africa stands with the Sahrawi people in their struggle for self-determination. That is why South Africa continues to maintain strong and warm bilateral relations with the Saharawi Arab Democratic Republic, which we formally recognized on the 15th of September 2004. South Africa has continued to reiterate its principal position in support of the peace efforts of the AU and the United Nations on the protracted Western Sahara conflict. On the 26th of March 2019, South Africa hosted the SADC Solidarity Conference with the Saharawi Arab Democratic Republic. The conference reflected our commitment as the countries of Southern Africa, supported by our friends in the international community, to a just, acceptable, and lasting solution to the conflict in Western Sahara. This state visit should send a strong message and signal that South Africa will continue to strive for the self-determination of the Sahrawi people, and that South Africa's position on Western Sahara remains unchanged and resolute. This visit has helped to strengthen and consolidate the fraternal relations between our two countries. These relations are steeped in struggle. It has also provided an opportunity to exchange views on recent developments related to the question of Western Sahara. We have agreed to continue to work together to mobilize regional, continental, and international support towards a sustainable resolution to the Western Sahara conflict, in line with the provisions of the 1991 ceasefire agreement. We reiterate the need to return to direct dialogue between the Kingdom of Morocco and the Polisario Front without any preconditions. We will continue to advocate for the active participation of African countries in the resolution of the issue of Western Sahara. We call on the Saharawi Arab Democratic Republic and the Kingdom of Morocco as member states of the African Union to prepare conditions for a new ceasefire and a just and durable solution to the conflict. As the African continent, we must remain true to the constitutive act of the African Union. As the international community, we must affirm the principles of the United Nations Charter and uphold international law and implement the resolutions of the UN Security Council. Once again, I wish to thank President Ghali for the fruitful discussions that we have had this morning, and also continue to assure him of the continued support of the government and the people of South Africa for the struggle of the people of Western Sahara. And thank you for coming through to South Africa.
Excellency, President Ghali.
شكرا فخامة الرئيس والأخ العزيز.
Your Excellency President and dear brother,
شكرا على الدعوة
thank you for the invitation
وشكرا على الاستقبال.
and thank you for the warm hospitality.
شكرا لشعب جنوب أفريقيا.
Thank you for the people of South Africa and the South African state for the unchanged stance that is supportive and supportive for the struggle of the Sahrawi people. This position that is entrenched in the struggle history and the principles of and the common principles for the freedom and the independence and for the dignity and the sovereignty and the self-determination. Thank you for the Republic of South Africa for the continuous support for our right to exist and our right for freedom and our right of sovereignty on our national soil, and especially the territories that remained under the occupation, the Moroccan occupation. Mr. President, the Sahrawi people was oppressed and continue to be oppressed by a neighboring country after a long struggle against a foreign colonization power. The Sahrawi people faced an invasion and an occupation of an African neighboring country. In 31st of October 1975 of last century,
قاوم الشعب
The
الصحراوي
Sahrawi people
ولا
resisted
زال
and
يقاوم
continue to resist
ومصر على المقاومة
and is
حتى
persistent
انتزاع
until
حريته
gaining its
وطرد
freedom and
المحتل
chasing
المغربي من
the
ترابنا
occupation
الوطني.
power, the Moroccan occupation power from our territories.
طبعا نثمن
Of course, we value
كل
the
تضامن
all forms of
ودعم
solidarity and support
ومساندة لهذا الكفاح
of this
لهذا
struggle,
الصمود
of this steadfastness
من أجل الحرية والاستقلال
for the freedom and independence,
لكن بصفة خاصة
but particularly
منكم
from your
فخامة
side,
الرئيس
Your Excellency,
شخصيا
personally
ومن دولة جنوب إفريقيا.
and in general from the state of South Africa.
شكر لا يمكن أن نجد العبارات التي
We cannot find words that actually
بإمكانها
describe our gratitude
أن توفي بغرض درجة الشكر
to
والامتنان
describe how grateful we are for you, Mr. President, and for the Republic of South Africa.
الشعب الصحراوي
The Sahrawi people
يكن لكم التقدير والعرفان على
appreciate
ما قدمتموه
what you have presented of support
في مختلف الميادين
in all fields,
وخصوصا
and especially
في الميدان الدبلوماسي
in the diplomatic field
والسياسي
and political field
والثقافي والاجتماعي
and cultural and social fields
وفي ميادين
and
أخرى.
in other fields as well.
نحن كشعب مظلوم
We, as an oppressed people,
يقدر معاناتنا وآلامنا من عانى مثلنا
the people who suffered like us will appreciate our suffering.
وبدون شك
And undoubtedly,
كل شعوب القارة
all peoples of the
الإفريقية
African continent
عانت من
suffered
الاستعمار
from colonization, suffered from occupation,
عانت من انتهاك حقوق
suffered
الإنسان
from the violation of human
عانت
rights,
من بطش
suffered from the oppression of the other.
إذن موضوعيا
Therefore, and objectively,
تكون إلى جانبنا
you should have to you should be in our
تدعم
side.
كفاحنا
You should support our struggle.
وهذه سمة من سمات
And this is
شعوبنا
a
الإفريقية
characteristic, one of the characteristics of our
سواء على
African
المستوى
peoples,
الرسمي
either
أو على
on
المستوى الحزبي
formal
أو على
or
مستوى المجتمع المدني
or the party or the
هو
civil
وسائل
society level, or even the media level,
لأنها
as
مرت بظروف صعبة
they passed the same difficult conditions before.
نواصل
We continue with you
ومع الأصدقاء
and with friends
جهدنا
our efforts
داخل الاتحاد
our
الأفريقي
efforts in the African Union
أجل احترام
for the respect
القانون التأسيسي لهذا
the constitutive act of this African Union.
نواصل الجهد معكم
We also continue our efforts
من أجل أن تفي الأمم المتحدة
for the United Nations to fulfill
للشعب
its
الصحراوي
obligations towards the Sahrawi people,
لتمكينه
to enable it of self-determination and independence
طبقا
in accordance to
مخطط التسوية
the settlement plan
لسنة
of the year 1991.
مجهود تعثر
Those efforts were hindered for 31 years
لعرقلة ممنهجة
as a result of the systematic disruption of the Moroccan occupation
ولحد
authority.
الآن لحد الساعة
And up until now,
لم يحمل من طرف المجتمع الدولي مسؤولية
it was not held accountable for the disruption that continued for 31 years of the international effort.
كان من المفروض وكان من اللازم
it was supposed
أن ينظم استفتاء تقرير
to
مصير
organize a
الشعب
referendum of
الصحراوي
self-determination of the Sahrawi people
في
in
سنة
the year of
1992
1992
طبقا
in
لمخطط
accordance
التسوية.
with the settlement plan.
أطالوا معاناة شعبنا.
They prolonged the suffering of our people.
لو طبق
If it was implemented, if that plan was
الدولة
implemented,
الصحراوية اليوم
then the
سيدة
Sahrawi
على
state
كامل ترابها الوطني.
now has a full sovereignty on its national soil and have relations with all states of the world, including Morocco, the Kingdom of Morocco.
نحن نعي جيدا
We are fully aware that we cannot change the geography
فالمملكة المغربية جار
because the Kingdom of Morocco is our neighbor and it will remain a neighbor. But Morocco has to respect the will of the Sahrawi people and also the good neighboring, the neighboring relations, and they have to respect our option, our selection. We are a very rich country, but at the same time, we are also a generous people. We are forgiving. We're tolerant. We seek to establish good relationships with all our neighbors. They only have to respect the sovereignty of the Sahrawi people and the unity of the Sahrawi people and the territorial integrity of the Sahrawi Arab Republic. We are determined to continue our struggle and steadfastness. My brother President, be assured that the Sahrawi people will continue to resist, will continue to struggle, regardless of the suffering, regardless the time it will take, until we attain our rights of freedom and independence and self-determination. Thank you so much. And we salute you all, the guests, and we salute the people of the Republic of South Africa. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Shukran, Your Excellency. We will now open the floor to questions, and I think we will run this by seniority. Asaf, you'll get the first one, and the juniors will follow after that. Can we have the roving mic to Asaf, please? Is that
Everything is clear.
Okay.
Thank you. There are many questions, Mr. President, and as a senior person who's about to go on pension, I'll ask simple questions, and my colleagues will ask hard questions. Mr. President, you will be embarking on a number of international engagements as you continue with South Africa's quest to ensure that we have a better world, as you've demonstrated today with Saharawi. Your trip to the G20 comes at a time where the major superpowers are at each other's throat, and there are fears that the G20 is likely to fail because of the Ukraine war, and those who are pushing that President Putin shouldn't attend that summit. The other issue is Lesotho next week. How do you feel as a person who was facilitating the talks in Lesotho? And finally, in Egypt, COP27, at the very difficult time where there's an argument in terms of countries moving to renewables when we have a power crisis, not only in South Africa, but around the world. This morning I saw reports that in Europe, people are being warned that with winter upon them, they must gear themselves for cold winter and no power. What will be South Africa's position in terms of the just transition? And to President Ghali, President Ghali, you have fought for many years to ensure that what the people of Saharawi want is actually achieved. Do you think the international community is committed to ensuring that whatever you've spoken about just now is being achieved? Is EU and the UN doing enough?
Thank you very much. Mr. President, I guess let's take those three in one questions, and we'll take another round.
Well, thank you. Yes, as you correctly say, we will be embarking on a number of trips internationally, and all this is in furtherance of our broad and general policy of creating a better Africa and a better world. So there will be trips on our continent and elsewhere as well. That goes to show that South Africa continues to play a very key role internationally, and we are well received, well respected, and well recognized. Our voice as a country, small as we are, is continuing to rise beyond our weight, our standing, and we are rather pleased that our voice is found to be impactful and also influential in a number of circles. When we go to the G20, we are fully aware of the challenges that the G20 countries are going to be facing. It's not only the conflict between Russia and the Ukraine that is going to give rise to the challenges, but many others. The world economy is weakening. Inflation continues to rise in many countries, and prices, cost of living is going up. So it is a common challenge that faces the peoples of the world. And the G20 will be grappling with all that. And we will be taking to that forum a voice of reason, a voice of calming things down and ensuring that we can find a way of navigating a way out of these challenges. The G20 was essentially formed to stabilize economies of the world, and that is going to be one of the key areas of focus. Our ministers have been participating in many of the other forums that have been taking place at ministerial level. Many of our ministers, both in the economic cluster, in the security cluster, and the social cluster, have been attending lots of meetings that will culminate in what will make up the G20. So we will go there pushing a very progressive agenda, an agenda that will hopefully lead to prosperity of peoples in the world, but more especially for people on our continent. And we will also be going there to advocate for the acceptance of the AU as a member of the G20. Like the EU is a member, we want the AU to be a member. We do not want South Africa to be the only African country that participates. So that is the agenda that we will be carrying to the G20. With regard to Lesotho, obviously we're delighted that the elections have been held and they were peaceful, and a new government is soon going to be installed. And I will be talking to the incoming Prime Minister, who has a desire to speak to me, and I'm hoping that we will be meeting soon. The holding of that election, particularly against the background or backdrop of the reforms that we had been working on as SADC and as led by South Africa as facilitator, and in this regard I honor former Deputy Chief Justice Dikgang Moseneke for the role that he played in the last mile to ensure that those reforms are buttoned down. So we are proud as South Africa that we've been able to play a role, small role, in bringing stability to Lesotho and enabling Lesotho to usher in a new era in their existence, so that Lesotho, as they've always desired as Basotho, should no longer be an agenda item at the SADC meetings. So we're very, very delighted with what has happened there. And we hope and trust that the progress that will now be made going forward will be durable and will be sustainable. And they will continue to have our support. We'll also, as you correctly say, be going to COP27. COP27 is going to grapple with the energy challenges, not only of the future, but even current energy challenges. And as you have said, South Africa is not the only country that is going through energy challenges. A number of other countries, particularly in the wake of, say, COVID-19, but we have our own challenges that emanate from the past, but also the challenges that have been given rise to by the conflict between Russia and the Ukraine. So Europe is going to face its own challenges as the winter comes in. And a number of other countries around the world are going to be going through the same blackouts, more or less, as we are having. We are working very hard on our own energy reforms, and we're working hard to lessen and finally eliminate the load shedding that South Africans have been subjected to. We're fully aware that this has brought a lot of hardship the lives of our people, but at the same time has had a negative impact on our economy, and that is why we are hard at work to ensure that we address our energy challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Excellency.
شكرا.
Thank you.
نحن في هذه الظروف ومنذ
We, under these circumstances and before maybe 2 years,
أعيدنا من جديد للحرب.
we were brought back to war, a war
بكل ما في الكلمة من معنى. نتيجة أنه المملكة
and
المغربية
that is due to
بصمت
that the Kingdom of Morocco and the silence of the international community,
نسف
they destroyed
المملكة المغربية نسفت وقف إطلاق النار
the ceasefire agreement
بين الجيشين
between the two armies,
الصحراوي
the Saharawi
والمغربي
and the Moroccan army,
بإشراف من الأمم
under the supervision of the United Nations.
المملكة المغربية أقدمت
Moroccan Kingdom
في 13 نوفمبر
on
2020
13th November 2020
إلى نسف وقف إطلاق النار واحتلال
to destroy the agreement of the ceasefire and to occupy new territories that was liberated before.
ومنذ ذلك الحين ونحن
And since then, we are at war.
لها ضحاياها اليوم.
There are victims, and unfortunately,
العودة الماضية
and recently,
الضحايا ليسوا فقط من
the victims are not only from the military. There are also civilian casualties. Sahrawi people, Algerian people, Mauritanian people, they were attacked by the forces by the royal forces of Morocco.
رغم نصف وقف إطلاق النار والرجوع
Despite that and being forced to go to war again,
الأمم المتحدة
the United Nations slowed down.
لكي لا أقول لم تتحمل مسؤوليتها.
I wouldn't say it did not uphold its full responsibility in implementing its mandate in the settlement plan that went into effect in 6th of September 1991. I hope that the African Union and the United Nations, they fix the situation and the consciousness is awakened and help end the suffering of the Sahrawi people, because they prolonged it so long, and especially the United Nations. And the African Union, as a partner of the United Nations in the settlement plan, has responsibilities as well, and it has to enforce the respect of the Constitutive Act of the African Union, and especially the Article 4 that stipulate the respect of the borders that is inherited from colonization. This negligence and is what actually motivated the Moroccan regime to not respect the international law and continued to. But our struggle and our steadfastness and the positions of the people around the world, we will enforce on the international community to accelerate the decolonization of the last colony in the African continent. Thank you.
Thank you. There are 3 more questions. If you may please just stick to 1 question per person. That will be really helpful. Kailesh.
Hi, good afternoon, Presidents. Kailesh Kumalo here from SABC News. I just want to get your input, Presidents. I mean, others compare the annexation of Western Sahara to what's currently happening in Ukraine with Russia, with the strong global condemnation. But when it comes to Western Sahara, you know, there's a bit of silence. As South Africa, Mr. President, what can we do to make sure that we just galvanize more attention to this issue? Thank you.
Thank you. Govin.
Thank you so much. My name is Govin Whittles from Newsroom Africa. Thank you, Presidents. I'd like to find out from our President whether you're concerned about the apparent withdrawal of more African countries in their recognition of the Saharawi Arab Democratic Republic. And if I could put this question like this, we know that the gas pipeline envisioned through Morocco and the African Continental Free Trade Agreement is impacted by the dispute between Morocco and the people of Western Sahara. Do you foresee any solution to that? Most people have considered perhaps a Maghreb Union without Morocco. Do you think that the African Union should consider that? And then I'd like to find out lastly that the African Court for Human and People's Rights recently described the existence of the military in the Western Sahara as illegal. And I see that the chief of our SANDF is here for the Saharawi Arab Democratic Republic's president. Are you seeking military assistance from South Africa? Thank you.
Thank you. Last question. Thank you.
Yes. Good afternoon. Zoleka Kotashe from SABC News. I know Mr. Mangweng has spoke about seniority, but Zai deployed us, so I think we are good. I just want to ask about Transnet. And the common thread between myself and Sophie's question is around the economy. And we know that South Africa is on an economic recovery plan. But there are growing concerns, and there have been growing calls from government, from civil society, for government to take a stand in this and to assist. We know UNTU has signed an agreement with Transnet. SATAW is still demanding a 2-digit increase. We just want to know the stance of government on this and whether there will be intervention from that side. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Mr. President.
Yes, we are concerned about the silence that persists in the world about the struggle for self-determination of the people of Western Sahara. We find that other struggles are articulated at a higher decibel than the struggle of the people of Western Sahara. And that is why, as South Africa, we are clear, we are firm, and we are unapologetic in relation to our support for the Saharawi people. And in our talks, we also raised the issue of mobilizing more support, because we benefited a great deal as South Africa from the mobilization of the international community for our struggle. And international mobilization was an important pillar of the various pillars of our struggle, and was quite effective in combination with the other pillars in ensuring that we bring the nightmare of apartheid to an end. And similarly, we believe that in relation to Western Sahara, mobilization should be one of the key pillars, international mobilization, as well as continental mobilization, which leads me to the next question, where you say, am I concerned about the seeming withdrawal of the various African countries supporting the struggle of the people of Western Sahara? Yes, we are concerned, and it is for this reason that we will seek to heighten the mobilization for the support of the struggle for self-determination of the people of Western Sahara. It is a just struggle, it is a noble struggle, it is an honorable struggle, a people who want to determine their own destiny through self-determination, a people who ought to be supported. We were in those trenches as well, as we fought to determine our own destiny as South Africans when we waged a liberation struggle. And it is for this reason that we are unapologetic in supporting the Western Saharan struggle. In relation to military support, no, we did not discuss anything military. We give many forms of support to the struggle of the people of Western Sahara. So that was not part of our discussions. The Chief of the Defense Force is here, as he is often here whenever we have state visits. As you know, when we have state visits and have a 21-gun salute, it is organized by the Chief of the Defense Force. So he happens to be here for the overseeing of that whole ceremony. And as you see, it is soldiers who are present, who march and hoist the flag. That's why the Chief of the Defense Force is here. In relation to Transnet, we were pleased to hear that the union that represents some 53% of the workers, UNTU, has signed, as it was announced. And we're hoping that the negotiations with the other union, SATAU, will also be successful. We are concerned about the Transnet strike because Transnet is really the artery, the main artery of our economy, and the stoppage of work at Transnet impacts negatively on all sectors of our economy, and a continued strike could threaten jobs not only in Transnet, but right across a number of sectors. As it is now, our ministers have been working very hard, Minister of Public Enterprises, Minister of Labor and Employment, and other ministers have been deep in negotiations, also trying to head the talks in a successful direction. But in the end, the talks have to be between the employer and the workers. So what we do is to ensure that there is stability in the economy, and that is the extent to which we get involved. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of this session. Your Excellencies, you may take leave of us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.